Well, we'll have all seen the viral tiny homes and unique stays on social media. Whether it's a glammed up tent in the mountains or a renovated camper van out west, our next guest is looking to shake up the hospitality space and create luxury mobility, creating all new hotel suites on wheels. Joining us now is Jordan Bem, founder and CEO of MoLiving. And Jordan, so how does MoLiving, how does that model work?
Thanks for having me. So we're Nomadic Hospitality Solutions. So basically, we're the first owner and operators of sustainable luxury mobile hotels. So we function as a JV in the sense that landowners that we work with own the land and will inject some minor permanent infrastructure. And us, MoLiving, bring in all the operations, the reservation system, and so on. Very similar to a Marriott, Hyatt, or any large hotel chain that you know of. But the real difference basically comes into the fact that we provide the units to the landowner.
So MoLiving was born out of your own frustrations with seasonal hotel destinations. So what's the story behind the business model?
The story is my sister and I were actually sitting on the beach one day in a seasonal market down in Long Island called the Hamptons, which I'm sure you're extremely familiar with. And we were just honestly venting about how expensive the hotels actually are in the Hamptons and how bad the product actually is. So we backed into the exercise of why is the product so expensive, and we realized it's only open for a small amount of time, so 4 or 5 months out of the year. And in that 4 or 5 months, they have to generate a ton of revenue. So we started off with an idea of saying, hey, it'd be really neat to be able to build a hotel that could actually move so that we could take advantage of this seasonality.
And how do hotels benefit from this model? How are you benefiting from this model? What have you seen?
So the way that hotels basically or landowners will benefit is that we actually build these 100% offsite with our partner SG Blocks, which is ticker SGBX. So since we're building these offsite, we managed to build these in a chain. So we actually control the timeline of production, and we can build these in 3 to 5 months, which is much more efficient and quicker than a traditional hotel. That's the first thing. Second of all, since we actually bring to the table the units for landowners that want to develop hotels, turns out that they're putting in a lot less capital. So that's a huge plus. Mm-hmm. And lastly, since we're actually operating at full time between 80 and 90% occupancy, since we have the possibility to actually change the inventory dependent on demand, we can run, since we're running these hotels at all times, once again, 80 to 90% occupancy, we have the ability to basically maximize our operating margin. So that's a huge plus.
So when it comes to the environment, what kind of environmental benefits does this have?
Well, MoLiving is actually built on wheels. And the way we actually integrate or set ourselves on a site is we use a self-leveling system. So we're not permanently affixed to the ground. And since we're not permanently affixed to the ground, we actually don't damage the ground that we're on. So we can actually remove these units without impacting what's below us. And the way that we run these units is with solar panels and the latest lithium batteries. In addition to that, we have holding tanks in our units. So fresh, which is the water will come out of your sink or out of your shower. Gray, which is the water that's actually recouped from your shower, from your sink. And we have a recycling system that's integrated into our units. So we manage to actually recycle it up to 7 times the water, purify and recycle up to 7 times. Guests would have no idea. It's just a great it's a great way of basically minimizing the amount of water that we're utilizing. And then there's black tank as well.
So the hospitality industry was greatly impacted by the pandemic. How are you looking at the hospitality space now?
Well, it was greatly impacted for a short amount of time as people were actually cooped up at home. So right now people are aching to get out. And as borders in some areas are still shut, Americans are desperate to actually go to the outdoors, and this is what we provide to people by implementing our units in seasonal locations, we have the ability to have people come to us. That's the first thing. Second of all, I think what's also important is that people are actually still, let's say, skeptical about the virus and whatnot. So we're implementing the latest tech basically into our units. UVC lights, for example, that are turned on only once you actually exit your room. So housekeeping will come, clean your room. Once housekeeping is actually out of your room, our front desk will activate remotely UVC lights inside the units and actually disinfect 100% of the units so that when you come in, you're coming into a pristine environment.
Now you're opening your first property in 2022, so where can we expect to see MoLiving?
So in 2022, we're opening MoLiving at Hurley House, which is upstate, about an hour and a half from Manhattan, in a little town called Hurley, which is right adjacent to Kingston. And we're looking to actually expand throughout the United States in some seasonal locations near national parks, for example. California, Utah is of interest. There's some destinations in Georgia, South Carolina, in the Keys, for example. We're looking to really expand rapidly throughout the United States before eventually going international.
Jordan Bem, founder and CEO of MoLiving. Jordan, thank you so much for being with us.